The UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, as well as similar legislation like the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of Children and the Children's Act in Uganda, emphasize the inherent rights of children. These legal instruments stress the need to guarantee children's access to health care and other social services. There have been many cases of parents failing to provide such basic necessities, but that may not necessarily be out of negligence. That is why Bwanika Bbale, a former National Resistance Council or parliamentary representative for Katikamu North in Luweero district, argues that there is a link between development and child protection or welfare.
Primary living examination classes last year, some districts you could see people sitting on the ground writing exams, not sitting down, which never used to be the case. I think government has to do a lot about education, and that's why we now appear to be creating two classes of those who have and those who are the deprived ones who are in the villages. If a child fell sick, you don't have good doctors in the areas, you don't have medicine, the wards are congested. People do it like
Bbale says directing resources to such sectors is critical to help scale down the cases of child abuse and neglect.
And you find money being diverted to other areas. So what if we want to improve the condition of the children, government should invest more in the areas where we have many people who can generate income for this country, because they can grow food and sell it to other countries, they can grow coffee and sell it outside and earn foreign exchange.
Chapter 59 of the Children's Act provides tough penalties for parents who fail to provide for their children. The Act was enacted in 1995 as the Children's Statute. Bwanika, who was then in Parliament, was one of those at the forefront of passing the statute. He shared some of the key issues they considered then.
It had so many sections establishing of course, changing campings, approved to be a rehabilitation center, setting regulations for foster homes, outline procedure for fostering and adoption, and of course criteria for establishing children's homes and registration of NGOs affecting children. I think the law was quite comprehensive.
A commission composed of officials from different sectors was eventually set to come up with a final legal document. Bwanika says government overwhelmingly supported the Act, although it did not have adequate resources.
In fact, government was not putting in much. It was very, very difficult. Government was constrained, but most of the efforts was realized through the finance assistance from those bodies, including the UN agencies.
He says whereas cases of child neglect and sacrifice were prevalent then, the cases were not as many as reported now. Bwanika is among those advocating for an amendment to the Children's Act.
The law was enacted, it's about 20 years, next year it will be 20 years, about 95. 20 years is quite a long time. There are new issues coming up, like you were mentioning, child sacrifice. I used not to hear those things when I was growing up. I never heard about them. Homosexuality, who could talk about it?
The world's most binding piece of legislation on children's rights was passed in 1990 under the auspices of the United Nations. In many countries, individuals like 60-year-old politician Bwanika Bbale made sure this law was domesticated or implemented. It's nearly 20 years since Honorable Bwanika Bbale helped in the passing of the Children's Act in Parliament. A lot has changed in terms of emerging issues affecting children, and that's why UNICEF, NTV, and Uganda Child Rights NGO Network have partnered to highlight the plight of the children as the world marks the 25th anniversary of the Convention on the Rights of the Child. Akena, NTV.